not saying anything.
Well, then you're really not going to help us here at all.
Also didn't shave. Figured it don't matter at this point, right?
Give a crap factor is low right now.
Well, about shaving, it is. Yeah. The football part's still pretty important.
Any extra thoughts about going to Knoxville for this last one, where you're pretty familiar with that area?
Well, I think it's kind of ironic, that my last one here is in Knoxville, but there's a pretty good chance that was going to happen. There's 50% chance that was going to happen at some point. So, it's another game. There's not that many familiar faces down there anymore after 7 years, and sometimes it's hard for me to believe it's been 7 years that I've been here, but it's been 7 good years, and if you're going to have a last one somewhere, that's a good place to have it.
Randy, if Max gets his year back, there'll be 3 sophomore quarterbacks next year. How do you see where their development is and how that may play out? Will it be, whatever system is the offense, which a certain guy will have the lead because of that, or are those guys all going to be pretty even when that quarterback battle starts in the spring?
Well, unless they're in some kind of quarterback run game, there's no question who the best one is. There's a reason it took us 8 games to pass up the passing yardage total that Max had. There's a reason we went from averaging 320-something yards a game passing and 30-something points to where we're at now. So there's no question who the best one is. Unless the offense changes drastically, then I have a hard time believing he won't be the quarterback. Those other guys have gotten a lot of work, and they're going to be dramatically better, in spring practice and next year than where they would have been had he stayed healthy. But it's still not much of a question in my mind.
Have you gotten to the point yet where you've started to put out fillers about what's next for you in the process?
Sure. It hasn't taken away from what I'm trying to do here. But we're pretty much told we don't need to be making recruiting calls. So instead of making recruiting calls for prospects to play football, I'm making recruiting calls for jobs. So I don't plan on living under a rock. But at the same time, my main focus has been trying to get these quarterbacks better and trying to make the offense better.
Time to be a head coach for you, maybe?
I have no clue what's next. I would like to be a head coach sometime in the right situation, but I love coaching quarterbacks, love coordinating, and I don't know. I might go GA somewhere or something. Who knows?
Get the Masters.
It is nice sometimes to walk off the practice field and go to the locker room instead of coming over here. Not that y'all done, I thought y'all have done a good job and been very fair with us this year. There's a lot of responsibilities that come with being a head coach and being a coordinator. And sometimes it's nice not to have to do those things.
Randy, what will you take from your time in Kentucky? You said it's hard to believe it's been 7 years. You've been since you're at Tennessee and been here. What will you take from your time in Kentucky?
Well, other than the friendships I've made, some of the relationships I've made with the coaches, the players, and some other people in Lexington, some of the people around the program, and some people in the community. There's been some great memories of wins. The win over Louisville, the first time we beat them. Andre's senior year, the win over LSU. The night we played absolutely awful and then came back and beat Arkansas at the very end with Hartline and Randall Cobb and that group. There's been a lot of special memories. But the accomplishments on the field are things that we have done on the field. The 5 bowl games, that doesn't compare to the relationships and the friendships you make. And 100 years from now, those friendships and the impact you have on people matter a whole lot more than the win-loss record.
Where do you rate the Tennessee one?
You've been most impressed by over your time here, maybe as either a player or just as a human being?
Well, there's a number of them. Obviously, coming here and getting to Coach Andre, the relationship we had was very special. Being around Mike Hartline, Randall Cobb, obviously the guys I coached are the guys I've been more directly involved with, probably more so. But Larry Warford, Matt Smith, those guys, Stuart Hines, Jake Lynn, there's been a number of those guys through the years that I hope to always stay in contact with.
Randy, where do you put the Tennessee win? Not just the fact you snapped the streak, but the way you had to engineer as a staff that upset last year.
That obviously has to rank up there. the way we had to do it, but then the fact that we hadn't done it in so long, you know, and there were a number of years there I thought, honestly, we probably had a better chance to win than they did. You know, it seemed like there was always something that came up to mess it up, and they were able to pull it out in the end. And last year going into the game, I thought it was going to take a miracle for us to pull it off, and the miracle happened. You know, the defense played great. We didn't have any turnovers. Kicking game was really good, and you know, I thought we might score twice. If we were real lucky, we might score 3 times, and hopefully 1 or 2 of those would be touchdowns. You know, and we were able to get 10 points, scored twice, which was about what I thought we had a chance to do.
What are the big concerns with the Tennessee defense this week?
Well, Jen, they're talented. They're a talented group, and they have. It seems like every game you turn on, you see different guys playing. So they've got a lot of guys that play. They got a lot of depth. They got a lot of talented guys. You know, they've just made mistakes that's killed themselves. You know, whether it's busting a coverage and giving up a 70-yard touchdown at the wrong time, or somebody blitzing and hitting the wrong gap, and the running back creases through there for 50 yards. You know, and teams that have had success have been able to capitalize when they've made mistakes. So my biggest fear is us not capitalizing if they make mistakes. If they don't make mistakes, they're pretty good, solid defense. When they do make mistakes, you got to capitalize on it. And obviously that hasn't been our strength this year.
You put Morgan in back at the H-back position last week. Do you have any trick plays with him? Maybe that's something that could be a possibility for Saturday?
Sure, there's a lot of possibilities there. I can't get into too much detail. If we don't run them, I'll tell you about them after the game. But sure, you know, he's a guy that is pretty versatile in what he can do.
How many offensive linemen have, I guess, come to you this week and said, "I'd like the ball too"? That's Darian.
Well, they all have. I figured that'd be the biggest problem. You know, Darian wanted the ball, Larry wanted the ball, and I told him, I ain't giving you the ball, but I'll let you line up in the backfield. You know, so we actually lined him up in the backfield about 3 or 4 times last week, and they actually had some pretty success. You know, the plays were pretty successful. So, you know, Jack wants to play back there now. You know? So I told him if it wouldn't block out the end zone camera, we might consider it. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah, that's a play we've actually carried for a while. I was going to call it about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and it just so happened when we got the situation to call it, he was hurt, wasn't in the game. So it's one we carried and had with us, and figured, what the heck, it's a good time to call it.
Why won't you give Larry the ball?
Afraid he won't give it back. You know?
He said he hoped his blocking would earn him a carry at some point in the next game.
Yeah, well, we'll look at it in a couple of weeks.
Randy, obviously you're not privy to much of what's going on down there right now, but you have perspective on that program that nobody else up here has, and you know what this rivalry means to them. I've got to think you believe they're going to be kind of ticked off and ready for you guys, maybe not overlooking you.
Well, I know whenever you lose to someone you haven't lost to in a while, you hear about it a lot during the offseason. And obviously it was the longest consecutive win streak in the NCAA, so I'm sure they've heard a lot about it, you know, starting from the time that game ended all the way up till game time Saturday. So I'm sure we'll get their best effort. I got no question that they'll be focused and ready to play.
How important was it to you as a player and a coach to protect that streak when you were down there?
Well, obviously it was important. You know, it wasn't just the streak itself. You know, you want to win every game.
Right.
And it just so happened that we were able to win that game several years in a row. You know, but trying to win it for the sake of keeping the streak alive, I don't think that was something that ever entered our mind.
Mm-hmm.
It was more, you know, to get to accomplish what you want to accomplish, you got to win.
2 in a row would be pretty good, wouldn't it?
2 in a row would be a great way to lead. Sure would.
Folks, everybody good?